Okay, we are live. I'm live with Lisa Russell here. Thank you everybody for joining the Getting to Hell Yes. Looking forward to learning a little bit more about Lisa, her journey, and ultimately what the problems that she solves and who she solves for, and a little bit more about why they buy. The reason why I built put this podcast together is had a number of conversations in the last last 3, 4, 5 months, and learning a ton about the multifamily, single family BTR side of things. And I'm just really energized by the energy level of all of the people that are out there in this industry that are working together. And we thought this is an interesting conversation to talk about, both sides of the conversation with respect to those that are selling and those that are buying, and making an interesting side of things so that people can kind of just share a little bit around what we're working with and who we're working for. So I'll introduce Lisa. Lisa is a 30 plus year veteran in the industry, and currently working on an AI startup. And Lisa, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks so much. I'm really glad to be here. My name's Lisa Russell, and yes, I've been in the industry 30 something years, and it's interesting to know that I've gone through all the cycles from operator to CEO, and then all the way to now that being on the forefront AI. And so it's really fun to be, like you said, find that passion and continue to be able to reapply it from our multifamily industry.
Right on. So end-to-end background, how did you end up in this role? How did you end up in, after 30 years, it's easy to kind of just keep on cruising. How did you end up in an AI startup from all your background?
Yeah, so actually, I've been in technology and really around the space uh, as part of my career. I was beta testing Yardi, or I was beta testing some of the other technologies for the early technology groups in my past life. But more importantly, is I had actually started building solutions back in 2010 and was able to sell some technology to RealPage. And so once I had that exposure that technology was really taking off, I just kept it in the part of my daily routine and as being an operator, and was able to really beta test for companies, advise as I was being working in property management. So combining that technology started many, many years ago, but then as I got closer and closer to AI really being a solid force in our industry, I was approached by multiple people to say, can you be involved? Can you guide us? Can you really give us an opportunity to have your experience and knowledge on how we can apply AI the best?
Outstanding. And so when you take a look at your background, who is your, so I guess, because of your history and kind of the incoming startup, there's probably two sides to this question, but when you're taking a look at and this will lead into the problems for everyone's listening, is who is your ideal buyer? And maybe who was your ideal buyer in your previous role? Who is your target ideal buyer for the new company?
Well, as a COO, my ideal buyer at that time in operations was really making sure that we were billing and maintaining, managing people's money and assets in their properties. And that was really focused more on the actual functions and operations. When I started really getting more into the technology side, I actually realized that that the technology vendors really have a good knowledge of their AI product or their technology product, but they don't have a direct relationship with the operations of the industry. And so really there's two separate worlds there that are now coming together. And we've seen that over the past 5 years. And so I really think that myself and a lot of the other consultants that are now up and coming will be the guides of how operations will combine into the technology. Now, as far as people I'm working with, it's across the spectrum, owners, VPs that have been in the industry like myself, much in the operations field, asset managers that are out there really managing and protecting those asset classes, and then making sure that we have employees engaged in the technology as well.
So specifically, what's the problem that you solve for them? What prompts them to find your solution, or what do you expect them to be looking for?
So I think where we're at now is we've been overwhelmed with technology. So we've got to first acknowledge that that overwhelm is real. And we thought technology itself would solve it. But at the lowest levels over the last 10 years, excuse me, that technology has been more labor intensive. So we've actually had to add personnel. And so what I just, really am
Mm.
excited to start to see now with AI, and really what we're solving, is that AI can completely remove some of that work.
Mhm.
And then we really open up the human element and bring back that customer service connection, contact, where you're not even going to have computers on desks. You're really going to have those one-on-one interactions with your residents with limited or no technology in sight. The AI will be handling a majority of that work for you.
So the kind of the best technologies, the technology don't even know is happening.
Exactly. And in this industry, we went to every single micro movement had to happen with a employee on site.
Yeah,
And so you were completely managing and micromanaging down to um, all the details of a site, and then those people were expected to then raise that detailed level all the way up to a big picture focus, such as a budget or financial reporting.
for sure. Do you think so when you say overwhelmed with tech, is that like there's been a lot of, criticism that multifamily has been a laggard with respect to technology adoption? Um, do you find that the overwhelm with tech is that the catching up, or is that just there's just so much more tech? I mean, like, it could be a case of where it's the difference of technology adoption between, like, let's say time X and time Y, and it's the amount of change that's happened. But in compared to other industries, is it all that?
I think it's the history. I think we literally had a step for every function. So
Mhm.
if back in the day, I would be able to hire a seasoned leasing agent. I never had to train them because they were trained from another company in the exact same steps that my company was. And
Gotcha.
so now I get a seasoned manager. She has 5 technologies that she is a valuable rock star in, and she comes to my property and can't operate any of my technology. So you've taken 10 years of a valuable seasoned employee that's really been that pencil's been sharpened, and she can take care of business, and you put her in an environment that she's at a day one job with no knowledge.
So do you see a world where people are going to be hiring based on their technology skills? Like,
Absolutely.
you're a Yardi expert as an example.
Absolutely. And that's what we haven't been doing in the interview process. The interview process still in the technology field is that they do technical interviews. We're not doing those in multifamily. So that's where we're going to be is where's that Yardi technical interview? Where's
Mhm.
that going through and making sure somebody fully understands fraud, and what's your basis of fraud, and how skilled have you been in that field? Fraud's not ever going to leave us. People think they have it resolved. They check it as a box, and then they realize that 40% of their site is saturated with fraud. It's because
Mhm.
they took
And the
their eye
bad
off
debts
the
accumulate, and then
ball.
they accumulate bad debts, that rent not paid, that they distribute that across all the other renters, or they absorb it as in the ownership group.
Yeah. So one of my trick questions now is if I actually ask an employee or somebody that I'm working with, even an owner or an operator, if I say, "How are you handling fraud?" and they say, "What fraud?" I
Yeah.
don't work with them. I
Right.
don't work with them. They're either naive or um, a problem.
Well, do you,
So
and that's, so I think you're talking specifically about the resident side of things. What about vendor fraud?
same. I mean, that's what I'm saying. If I actually can't have a 1 or 2 minute conversation with you about where you've seen fraud in your specific field, uh, uh, I would believe that you're either not looking or don't want to see it, and are
Right.
putting on blinders, right?
Got
So
you. So getting back to your startup. So what's the problem you were going to solve for the startup? Um, what's a specific situation that you guys want to go at to solve?
well, part of it is data is everywhere. We've got it. We're just not utilizing it.
Mhm.
From everything from who's walking in to even apply for apartment. Do we have data on those people? Do we have data on maintenance apps and work orders? Do we have data on equipment that we have on site? Anything that AI can take a massive amount of information, which we have and have
Mhm.
always had, put it in a collective space, and then you be able to basically chat GPT it into reality. Can it write reports? Absolutely. Can it analyze whether you should do renovations and it actually pick the apartments for you? So AI will be able to take some of those tedious, monotonous tasks, combine them, and put them in things that would take literally seconds to solve. So I'm all up for this industry taking that time off the employees and really the management shoulders and giving it back to them.
So then, if I heard you correctly, that the people that are kind of like underwater from a data perspective, or those organizations, will be your target. Because like
Absolutely.
not everyone is. If you're kind of a single shingle, you're probably not underwater on data. But if you're managing 15,000 units across, 7 different jurisdictions, different states, then you're probably feeling that data pain. And
Correct.
let's say, for example, and you've got, in one district you've got no people and rents are going up, and the other district you've got no people and rents are going down. So they're kind of different scenarios. So then with respect to the person that you're dealing with, they are now overwhelmed with data, hand in the air, I'm drowning, and that's the problem that they're suffering.
That and they don't even know they're drowning in the data.
Sure.
So part of it is the awareness, because we've got to understand that you've just missed 18 opportunities,
Right.
because and the data would have given you at least 16 out of those 18 had you made one slight difference, right? So those are some of the micro levels that we can get down to, is that we can start to see which teams are performing on an hourly basis.
Right.
Can you imagine? I mean, that's where you can see that in a data collection
So
as
then, in the spirit of getting to hell yes, is the buyer going to be somebody who has realized they missed an opportunity? Or is it, because thinking about the buyer's journey of awareness through to consideration, through to evaluation, through to commit, right? So that in the awareness side, they know they have a problem, but they're not suffering the pain of the problem. Or maybe they don't, like you said, they don't know they've got a problem yet. They don't know they have a fraud problem. They're just kind of like maybe ignoring it. So those aren't hell yes customers. Those are customers that are kind of like, just like maybe next quarter. But like
right,
this quarter, what is the kind of customer, the buyer who's like, they're suffering and they're going to say, hey, Lisa, your solution, breaks my suffering, breaks my struggle. I want to buy this now. And so like, it's kind of like, what was the change of their life? Like, what was it like in August and now it's October? And what changed between now and October? So here's an example. I'm trying to
yeah,
think of a data example. Let's say they all of a sudden acquire a new building and it's on a different system. It's on all these different things, and they've got to roll up for the end of the year here. And so now they're overwhelmed with like, their life changed. And
right,
because their life changed, now they've got to do something about it. And that's kind of like this whole premise of hell yes. It's like when the
yes,
buyer is in a situation that they've got to do something about it, that's when we want to be there and as sellers and have the solution at the ready. And yes, we do want to make sure that they've been aware of us. We've been kind of nurturing them all along the way. But then it's that timing of like, oh, this operator just acquired another operator. Okay, boom, they've got a data problem right away, right? And so
right, right.
that feels like that would be a hell yes customer.
Yeah, I've actually had one of the customers that they had replaced their third asset manager in about a year
Mhm.
and a half. And each time they started from scratch, and their actual portfolio and their assets were suffering. So you're talking about an AI system that can actually hold the legacy of information. If you roll through 3 different asset managers, that information is still there. It's still a foundation for a new asset manager to come in and really be
Mhm.
able to not start on day one at ground level scratch, but really already be like a 5-year, veteran in that seat. So
Right.
how can you replace people or train them up or promote them? Now, our
Sure.
industry, the big secret is out there. What really made us successful for so long is you had property managers sit on the site for 15 years. So it's because they were your value, they were your knowledge vault. They didn't even know that was what their value was, but they knew what every uh, rehab had been, what the problems are with the drainage. They knew all of those intricacies, and you couldn't replace them. So now we're replacing property managers and promoting them every 2 years.
Right.
That knowledge value is lost completely. So in
Hmm.
due diligences, it's lost to the takeover. You've got data and informational loss happening so rapidly at the pace that we have now versus 20 years ago in this industry, that AI will help us keep pace again with really retaining that valuable data and information that was once only human capital data
Mhm.
information.
So then do you see, like, in terms of like, so then this again, getting to the path to hell yes, what kind of signals will you look for to figure out who is a valuable conversation, right? So what, if we kind of peel back, so we're talking about, or, we agreed on that when there's a significant change in your data, let's see, volume or infrastructure or, I'll say types, if all of a sudden that's happening, then you've got a data problem and you kind of
Mhm.
go, okay, I need a solution. So I'm gonna call Lisa. So then when you're looking at the overall market of the 45 million apartments that are out there, units that are out there, and all the managers and all the owners and all the operators and all the REITs, who are you going to target specifically so that you can kind of try and find those people that are looking for hell yes?
So I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's an actual event that occurs for them.
Okay,
I think it's the mindset of the leadership in that organization. So
got you.
when you've already got a hell yes person in your organization, that's who I want to talk to.
I
So
see. I see. I see.
I don't believe the journey is getting to the hell yes. I believe that we that have been in this industry, me for 38 going on 39 years, I live hell yes.
I got you. So that's really about, let's, to you're saying earlier, like, let's make them aware, let's educate, let's teach along the way, make them understand the path forward. I mean, I had one person give me some coaching recently. It's like it's about making them feel almost insecure about their position, and it's psychological, right? Like it's like, hey, everyone else is over here and you're over here, or hey, this is the change that's coming, it's inevitable, do you want to be first or be last, right? It's like that kind of messaging. And that's that's, I find that's like, that's on the path to being persuasive and like,
Mhm.
taking advantage of psychology, but at some degree it works. Like,
Yeah, I
you
mean, at some
cannot just,
degree, they do wanna be ahead of the game. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
human nature is that we don't wanna be left behind. Uh,
totally.
yeah, so that's your human instinct there. So that
And so it's kind of funny because, like, to get to commit to change, right? There's like a combination of there's a great where did I just hear this recently? I was listening to a podcast and they're chatting about committing to change. And it was like the emotional commitment to change is then supported by the data, like the ROI conversations, right? And there's this whole thing about, like, sellers will talk about, well, I'll talk about ROI. Last two slides in my slide deck are about ROI and pricing, right? Because it costs something.
right.
But the first seven are all about the emotional journey that you're on. Because
Yeah,
I'd like to structure the narrative in a way that you're mentally bought in when you get down to those pricing slides. And then the pricing slide is really like, well, why can't it, why would I not do this? Like, that's what I'd love to get to a buyer to be at, is like, well, it'd be really silly if we didn't do this, because here are the benefits, here are the proper, here's a struggle we're trying to do. We're trying to break through. Here is, yes, they have customers like us. Yes, they understand our business. Yes, it's easy to implement. And I'm not at a career risk or personal risk by choosing to buy
right,
Iris.
right,
Yes, the pricing is fair and a good equitable share exchange of value. Hell yes, let's get started. Right. And that's
right,
like kind of the narrative that we're putting together, because we want to make sure that we're actually testing the conversation along the way, so that I'm learning as well. Like, when I'm pitching, I'm also learning. Like I was mentioning to you before the call today, reviewing calls to me has been such a valuable exercise, because when I'm talking, I'm not listening. And when I get into a call review, I hear, and I was saying to you, like I was reviewing a call, and I'm just like cringing at the things that are how I'm talking, because I'm not dialed in on the listen. I'm still trying to get my point across, but that's not the goal. The goal is to hear their objective, their struggles, what they're trying to accomplish. And I find that a lot of sellers get out there and we just start talking about, we just like puke our data and our opinions all over people, like the you
Guilty.
conversation, right? Yeah, guilty, right? Like,
Guilty, double hand guilty on that.
you
And
know,
and that's what, honestly, this past couple of years, putting my operator hat off to the side, I've had to experience that. I have all of those years of experience kind of filtering in front of me, and I've had to kind of move those to the back and say, I don't know what the person in front of me's experience is. And that has been the teaching moment for myself, was to take everything I know and put it behind me and just listen to what is happening in the moment with this client or with this person. And in some cases, I'm the first to say, I can't help you. You
mm,
need 3 steps before me first, right? And here's some resources for that. Or, great, you're right where you need to be to take on AI. And
yeah,
so that's the difference, because in the past I would have just, oh, I assume as an operator you're already at this level, or as an industry as a whole, blanket statements. Eh, we're not. We're on rungs of a ladder, and that's how our industry has always operated, from mom and pop, like you said, the one person shop, all the way up to the top. But I've heard people say the vendors are trying to fit those solutions for everybody up the ladder.
mhm,
And what I really see in the future, our vendor partners are going to do as educators, is we're going to make sure they've gone through the proper rungs before they get to us, and not just sell us a product they don't need at this time because they don't have the other three rungs of that ladder. And so that's responsibility. And that's what's coming into the space now that technology is inundating, is to be where the influencers, I say influencer, contact creators online that are really educating. Those are the people we're going to gravitate more for in the next couple of years, because that's those seasoned veterans that are now your consultants out there. And
mhm,
I have just been impressed with the number of peers that I've seen that are now doing fractional asset management. They're doing fractional COOs. They're really going into those organizations as a temporary employee to get them up that next rung of the ladder.
uh, and so it's a genuine intent to help.
Yes, genuine intent to help. And that is how, for me, if sales doesn't evolve to that, we're all just going to have these piecemeal systems all sitting out there, none of them talking to each other, not understanding why we've invested all this money. And it's, still automation is years away. And we are so close to some major breakthroughs in this industry, as that's going to demand that replication, duplication, and really that information being transferable
Mhm.
on sale is what we have not focused on.
Well, I think it's gonna be what's gonna be, I mean, on building transaction, on M&A activity.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Correct.
I
That's what
think
I'm
it's
saying. That if
so that, yeah.
we've had this lull, right, in M&A, and we want to make sure that we are primed, that if a company has to walk in and take over 12 sites, that's that's in itself a monumental task. And yes, they've got systems in place to do that, but does it take them 2 years to recover those sites from that transfer?
Right.
That's what we're talking about. When that data, technology, and information can be transferred, and on day one, that new property manager is a seasoned vet sitting in the seat on that site.
Right, so it's really just, you're just keeping stride,
Mhm.
right? Because ultimately, I mean, the building is gonna be the building, but, like, the residents inside that building will feel the change, will
Correct.
otherwise feel the change, right? But if we can just keep you pick up all the pieces from, operator A, and you kind of just drop them into the execution for operator B, there really should be no impact on the residents, because that's ultimately the concern that we're having, right? So is the resident concerned then, and then, prescriptive and predictive and corrective maintenance programs can all be picked up based on what was done. But if you don't know that, then you're really kind of like scratching your head going, when was the last time we, worked the AC, the HVAC units? When was the last time we worked the plumbing or do those kind of things?
It used to take on an average of a new property manager to walk into a site, take over 6 months to right that ship and be comfortable, have her team in place, and that was about the standard in my experience.
Mhm.
What we saw, though, when we added technology and the teams had to learn the technology, we went to 1 year or a year and a half. We went
Right.
to a longer cycle if they were learning all new technology. And then plus the nuances on the site, right? So then the final thing with that is at the time of a takeover or new construction, then as we're growing those that knowledge base, and you
Mhm.
lose somebody or you lose staff members, that's what we've seen with the staff shortage. We've not held on to any of that knowledge. We've lost it all. And
So
so that old system that was used to that, like I said, senior people on site for a long period of time, or making sure we had it in documented form somewhere. Nobody's going to read those manuals and documentations to
sure.
figure it out. They don't have time to.
So when you take a look at the data problem, who feels it the most intensely? Is it the operator or is it owner operator? Like, who's going to feel it more, operators or owner operators?
I think obviously, I think the third parties are the hardest. We always know that in our industry
Mhm.
because you don't know what you're walking into. You don't have a
Yeah.
history there, right? But that's the other side of it is that, say, as a third party, you work through all of that and then lose that client because of another deal. So the loss and the transition is what we really haven't um, addressed overall.
Mhm.
And I think that just adding some more technology to it makes it worse. And uh,
Right.
and that's where I want our employees, I want our regional directors, I want our VPs to be confident in an overall structure and system, rather than having to deal with these nuances, these one-offs all the time.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's where we're spinning our wheels. That's where, um, even to the point now that 1,000 emails a day is pretty normal for a VP or regional. Then you've got AI tools now that can sort those for you. So
Sure.
why wouldn't you? Because that we used to go with 15 emails a day, 20 emails, 100 emails a day, and then it ramped up to 1,000. Where are we going to put our time? It can't be
Mhm.
in those emails any longer. So, some cases I've seen where assistants have to take over the VPs, completely take over their email
In-house.
systems. Yes. So all of that is we've always in this industry, we are adapters. We can you could drop us in a desert and we could build something, right?
For
So,
sure.
but not if we're tired, not if we're overwhelmed, not if we don't even know what we're missing in the data.
Right.
And the, and I what I really believe happens, and the light bulb of the hell yes for AI for me was when I walked in and I attended a few conferences and I talked to people that are developing different AI technologies, and they said all of that, that you're talking about, Lisa, we can do in about 5 minutes.
Hmm.
And you have to understand, it was such a disbelief for me, that cognitive dissonance that they talk about, where I didn't
Yeah.
believe it until I could actually see it. And then when I started to see over and over again that AI can come in and really completely revolutionize my
Oh, yeah.
time.
Like, until you start using AI, you have no idea.
Yes.
Like, you really don't, and it's remarkable. It's transformative to the way you do your work. And
Correct.
for me, a lot of it is like even just like simple things that I would normally spend a lot of like mental energy on, just like fixing my grammar, because just something as simple as that. Where you're tired, you've written something, you're like, it just doesn't look right. It's jumbly, it's kind of wordy, and I'll just pop it and I'll just fix my grammar just so, and I just don't want to spend the energy doing that. They might not get it right the first time, but then I can at least coach it a little bit to fix it, prompt it.
Absolutely. And I use this as an example with pricing modules. Years ago, all the managers used their gut. Our data was our market surveys. It was our gut of the customer coming in the door. It was the feedback from our corporate office. And we did our own pricing advising. The new systems took that gut out of the system. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I really want to see happen with AI is the AI does what it does, and the human interaction brings the gut back.
Sure. Well, it's
right?
assisting. I mean, it's assisting
that
everyone.
that's correct. So you're not doing a complete, hands off. No, just AI is working on its own. It has to have that human intuition, human, gut system in place,
Mhm.
and we've got to, in some cases, re-engineer that for our employees. And
Yeah.
so that's the part that I want to see, and I feel like we've got probably a runway of about 5 years that we will
Well, there's
see.
a whole other conversation on what's blocking adoption, right? The cultural, the institutional, the regulatory, all those things.
Yes.
We'll park that for a separate conversation.
Yeah.
To kind of wrap it up today, couple points. First one, what's the other sellers that are out there, based on your experience, coaching that you've given, what's the one piece of advice you'd give them to help them recognize what hell yes looks like?
I always look at it as a sense of relief. Hell yes
Yeah.
is the sense of relief that you see in somebody's face when they understand that problem that they've been just beating their head up against the wall and having to deal with, that is now possible, and that they can actually find a way they're going to transfer that, and they immediately in that moment feel that sense of relief.
Yeah.
And it changes the context. It gives them that confidence. They're open to even more new ideas. So that's where we take our breaths. That's
I
where we
love it.
really.
I
That's what.
love that. That's the punchline for everyone listening. You're right. It's that sense of relief because their struggle has been solved.
Yes, it's like
Right.
I, I had some of those that were like 25-year things that I have done a manual system for. I've carried it throughout my career. I trained people to look for this information. I retrained them on it hundreds of times. And when I found out that I could sit with a developer for 5 minutes and that system is solved for our industry, was
Wow.
such an amazing moment for me. I still got goosebumps.
I love
And
it. I
that's
love it.
what we're talking about. That's
That
the
is hell yes.
yeah, that's a
That is
hell
hell
yes
yes.
right there.
All right. Who should we talk to next? Anybody in
Oh
your
my
network?
gosh, you've got a million people out there that I could recommend, but I really think you should talk to Mike Brewer.
All right.
Mike is like myself, been a COO for a company. He's now doing some consulting and some other fun stuff in the industry, but he's also very knowledgeable in a wide range of issues that we have in the industry. He's at all the conferences, and if I have a question about anything related to multifamily, I'm usually tapping in. Mike has his own podcast as well.
Yeah.
And I will always check in with Mike to see what's going on.
All right. Well, I'll lean in on you for an intro to Mike. That sounds outstanding. Well, thank you everybody for listening in. I went a little bit over, but great conversation, and look for this on the podcast. Hell yes, whatever podcasts you listen to. It's on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and I think on Samsung. And then, but yeah, follow us there. We'll push that out in about a week. Lisa, thank you for joining me. Really appreciate your insights. It's absolutely a thrill to talk to you. And I look forward to further conversations. And hopefully we'll see you soon. Are you going to any of the conferences coming up?
I'm not at the end of this year. I'm looking at January 25th.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a big one. Cool. Well, I'll be at OpTech. So anybody who's there at OpTech, love to see you there.
Yeah.
And this has been great. Thank you very much for all your time. That was inspirational.
Well, I love that. It's like, hell yes, let's get there.
Yes, let's get there. All right. Take care, Lisa. Have a wonderful
All
day.
right. Thanks so much.